Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rakahakudash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and taught me this truth. Peace, blessings, salutations, and mercies to the elect and the one-third remnant out there listening and doing this word with all faith and sincerity, scattered amongst the nations and the four corners of the earth. To you I say Shalom. Lord willing, this video is edifying. It's going to be centered around the subject of faith, right? And the act thereof, right? Because faith is or showing your faith is it requires action behind it. It's one thing to, say that you believe and to, talk the talk of, a follower of Yahushua, but then it's another to actually walk that walk and act on it, right? And do the things in which is required of you to be called a faithful servant, right? As Paul said, faith without works is dead, and he's willing to show his faith by his works, all right? Because we know ultimately faith is the key ingredient, right? But not just faith, but you have to show your faith. Okay. Part of showing your faith is, for example, doing these videos, right? These digital epistles. That's a way to show your faith. Going out on the highways and byways every week. A way of showing your faith. Okay. But I'm not even just talking about that. I'm talking about in your daily life. Okay. Praying, fasting, trusting in Yahweh Shema Shai when you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, right? And that's what showing your faith is really about, because the Lord is going to put you through situations to where you may think you know the outcome, and then it goes opposite to where what you thought it was going to do, right? Or maybe you just don't know the outcome at all, right? Maybe it's just, that you should do something. Prime example, you have a woman, right, that you may be involved with, and your spirit telling you, this woman is really bringing me down. She's not really offering much, but then your flesh is telling you, oh, but she ain't really done nothing that's going, that constitutes me leaving her, or, whatever reasoning you try to convince yourself of, that she is not, or that she, can be granted the grace of staying around, and you try to hold on to her, right? And the more you try to hold on, the worse situations get, because the move is for you to let it go, right? The same could be true even with a job. You may be working a job and you're trying to hold on to this job, but that this job is, is hindering you from your spiritual growth. Okay. And you may want to hold on to it because you may feel that it's doing what it needs to do for you to make it, but then the Lord's making it more difficult for you to show up on time, or to get the schedule you want. Or maybe he's putting spirits on the people that's over you to make make it more harder for you. Okay. But in your mind that you really don't need the job. You just got it because, you're afraid of what might happen if you let it go, right? which is ultimately not acting in faith. Because if the Spirit's telling you something, just trust the Spirit. Okay, and that itself is an act of faith. Okay. This is Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So you hope for the best, right? In these acts that you do. Okay. And the things that happen around you, you have to trust that Yahweh Shemel Shai got your best interest. You know that you're doing the right things to the best of your ability, right? You know that you're being genuine and sincere in what you're doing. So you have to trust that the Lord got you. All right? Because it's a lot easier when you just obey it the first time. You know, you get that unction in your spirit, like, yeah, this isn't what I should be doing. And you still try to do it because you think, you know, really that's trying to force it, you know, when you just chill out and just let the Lord take control and just trust him in his ways, you turn out on top every time. Okay. But that's easier said than done. Okay. That's way easier said than done. But guess what? When it's done, you feel a lot better about it. Okay. You feel that instant relief, like, fuck, wow. You know, the water Yahweh Shema was shy for, you know, making this happen. And it may seem like a letdown at first, you know, because man's going to the Lord, right? How can we understand our own way? We don't know what's best for us, right? We think we know, but we don't truly know. So when something happens and we try to focus on the things that we can't control, and you try to control it through, you know, you try to manage it through, you know, then, you know, things get harder. Okay, but let the things that aren't in your control be, you know, in the Lord's hands, man, because ultimately that's what it's in. That's whose hands it in, right? Focus on the things you can control, right? And you will turn out a lot better. Prime example, right? This is Matthew 14 and 25. And in the fourth watch of the night, Yahushua went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Yahushua spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. So Yahushua was on the water. He's walking on the water. One of the many miracles he performed, right? And the disciples observed him, right? And they were afraid. Okay. They were afraid. But then the Lord spoke to him and he told him, you know, hey, it's me. You know, pretty much trust me, right? Trust the situation that you in, and that, you know, I'm in control of it, right? And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, come. So Yahushua told Peter, all right, well, come, right? And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on water to go to Yahushua, right? So he performed his initial action, right? The instinctive action where he was listening to Yahushua to follow him. He started doing the same thing that Yahushua was doing, which in this instant was walking on water. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid and beginning to sink, because the kryptonite of faith is fear, right? The Lord didn't give us the spirit of fear, right? That's a weak spirit, but it dwells around us, man. It dwells, right? But the way to overcome it is with faith, moving in faith, okay? Moving, knowing that Yahweh Bashim Shai is going to be with us, or he is with us, and that he's not going to let us be overcame by these different plights, right, and adversities. He was afraid, beginning to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Yahushua stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Right. So the reason why he started sinking is because he doubted the fact that he was walking on water, or that he could walk on water. Right. Because the things got a little shaky, the wind started blowing. And that's what Satan does, man. He's the tempter. OK, he go when you're on this walk, he goes to create that doubt. OK, which is his job. Right. But ultimately, it's the Lord testing us to see, OK, do you really believe? Right. You believe me now? I told you, yeah, you can walk on water, and you're walking on water, but I'm gonna shake it up some, and I'm gonna make these waves start growing a little bit. Do you believe you're gonna walk on these? Right. And that answer is yes. But in this instance, Peter focused on the thing that he couldn't control, which was the elements around him. Instead of honing in and locking in on Yahushua, but it was for it to be a lesson, right? Because we know that Peter showed a lot of great acts of faith, performed miracles even, right? But in this instance, he showed a lack of faith. He doubted, right? So we have to overcome that spirit of doubt. And the only way you do that is with faith. You combat it with faith. This is 2 Timothy 1:7. For the Most High hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind, right? And a sound mind is what? Being disciplined, right? Being concrete, being sure, you got to have that, belief that, everything's going to work out in your favor. Why? Because, your actions, which is love, right? Love is an action, keeping the commandments to the best of your ability, right? Doing the things in which you are supposed to do. Love thy neighbor as yourself, love Yahweh Shema Shah with all thy heart, right? So you're not supposed to be timid, because you're supposed to be sure. You're supposed to be confident, and, we say that, or I say that, right? But then here it is, Jake might, I serve the Lord, I'm faithful, I'm this, I'm that. And then a woman walked by, and now Jake getting nervous and shit. You scared to talk to a woman. But at the end of the day, man, we serve Yahweh Shema Shah. See, those little things like that, just, you have to be confident in all things, man. You have to be sure in all things that the Lord is with you. Okay? Because he is. All right? So whatever you fear, whatever, because Jake get caught up thinking on negative outcomes, right? If it's not going to come out in his favor. But that's your perception of your favor. You don't know what's best for you, right? What's best for you, all we know is that you serve the Lord. You keep the Lord first. That's what's best for you. All the extras, you get rejected by a girl, now your confidence low. Nah, fuck that, man. That bitch wasn't worthy, so the Lord didn't let you have it, right? Or you lose a job. It's not, you wasn't showing up late. You wasn't doing it, them niggas didn't even fire you. They just stopped giving you hours. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean there's nothing that you were doing. That could just be the Lord's way of separating you from what's holding you down. All right, maybe he has better opportunities for you, got better plans. And that's the mindset you got to have, right? This is Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy power, right? So you're not supposed to be, dismayed, right? You're not supposed to be feeble, right? Got to be strong. Why? For I am thy power, I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness, with Yahweh Shai, man, because we got the spirit. We're looking to be right in the same spirit of Yahweh Shai, right? We're seeking to serve or to follow in the footsteps of Yahweh Shai himself. Okay, so we have to, and guess what? In that example of Peter walking on the water, when he started sinking and he, kind of panicked a little bit, he prayed to, Yahweh Shai, hey, help me. Yahweh Shai immediately, boom, right there when he had him. So even when you are in your weakest times, that's what the Lord is there for, to be your strength, right? That's why we have these escapades, so it could build that confidence, right? Familiarizing us with the strength and the patience and the mercy and the grace and the love of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So when these times come and they get more and more intense, we can think back to these moments where he pulled us out that water. And with that, I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakudash Wa, Abba Babal, and DTADTN.